might notice there's a fair amount of carnage on the countertops behind me, and that's because I've been making these beautiful little cupcakes, and in this video I'm going to show you how I did them. Hello and welcome back to my handmade lifestyle. I'm Patty and I go by Pattymac Makes everywhere online. If you enjoy living that analog life in this crazy digital world, then I invite you to like today's video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what Christmas baking, or holiday baking I should say, you're doing in your home kitchen. As you can see, we're in my kitchen today, and we're going to make these absolutely beautiful cupcakes. I named them the Winter Fairy Forest Cupcake because they just reminded me of a magical fairy forest, and they look super fancy, and they really were not terribly difficult to make. I made this video to participate in the Winter Cupcake Challenge that is hosted by Artsy Cupcake and Happily Thriving Heidi. They are both hosting this really fun cupcake challenge, and this video, along with many others, will be in a special playlist. And so if you're all about cupcakes, you will want to watch the whole playlist because it's going to be pretty cool. And I will link to the playlist in the description below. Part of what makes these cupcakes special is that I picked out really cute liners to accentuate the feeling of holidays and Christmas. I personally celebrate Christmas, so this is kind of a Christmassy cupcake for me. The candy cane stripes I thought looked really cute, and then I had this really special scalloped black liners that I thought were really quite pretty. And when I made the frosting, I used food dye. I actually used food dye in both halves of the frosting. So I made the frosting, I split it, I put green food coloring in one, and then I put like a off-white in the other to give it that vintage feel, because I like vintage everything. So the more vintage, the better I like it. And I thought antiquing the color of the white really gave it that feel. And then I used a 1M tip by Wilton to do the swirl. In this video, we're going to take a look at the cupcake recipe for the cake itself. I'm going to show you exactly how I made that. The original recipe is from Sally's Baking Addiction. I changed up the order of operations basically at the end for the most part. Something I will tell you about these, they can kind of fool you when they're in the process of being baked. You're going to look at them and you're going to say, they're not done. And you're going to think they're not done, and you're going to keep baking them, and then they're going to be overbaked. So when you make these, you really want to watch the time. And then you want to use the spring back method, and you're going to just lightly touch the top of your cake, and when it springs back, you'll know it's done. And they're going to look kind of funny. They're going to look really not done. I promise you they are done. They come out really moist. They're great cupcakes. This is a wonderful recipe and a good base. For the frosting, I used my own buttercream frosting. I will link to that over here. I'm not going to demonstrate that in the video. I'll show you a little bit of piping that I did, and you can see that coming out of the frosting bag. Okay, let's jump in and see how I mixed the cakes, and you'll see a little bit of the decorating, and yeah, and then I'll be back. Okay, let's look at what we have here. In the back, over here, it's hard to see, but I don't have a clear bowl big enough for those dry ingredients, so they're in my mixing bowl. And in that mixing bowl, I have cake flour, baking powder, baking soda, nutmeg, and cinnamon, and a little bit of salt. Over here, I have my butter over here. I have room temperature sour cream. These are room temperature egg whites. This is my sugar. I will tell you that I have switched to using castor sugar, which I learned about by watching Bake Off. I'm super into the whole Bake Off thing, so I have gone to castor sugar for everything. I can find it in one grocery store in my area, and I have also found it online at King Arthur Flour, and it's totally different from what we use in America for granulated sugar. You can use granulated sugar, but I don't know, I'm so into the whole British thing right now, so I'm using castor sugar, and that's here. And then back here I have my milk, and I'm using buttermilk because that's what I had in the fridge today. And then we're going to use 2 flavorings. We're going to put in some vanilla and just a very little taste of almond extract. Almond is a very strong flavor. You only want to use like a 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then over here you can see I have my cupcake liners all ready to go. Everything's set up. My oven is preheated to 350, so we're ready to go. All we have to do at this point is mix everything and then put it into the cupcake liners. So how are we going to mix this? Well, this particular recipe follows the creaming method. So the first thing we'll do is put our room temperature butter and the sugar, which I'm going to sift because it's got some lumps in it. So we're going to sift it out so it's perfectly smooth. We're going to cream that butter and sugar for 2 or 3 minutes until the sugar is completely dissolved. And then at that point, we're going to scrape everything down. You always want to scrape down your sides in between additions of new ingredients, in between the mixing of the ingredients. It just makes sure that everything is incorporated properly. Once all of that is creamed, we will start adding in the egg whites, and we'll beat those in on high speed until well combined, and that's going to take about 2 minutes. Then we're going to beat in the sour cream and our flavorings, the almond and vanilla. And we're going to just allow that enough time so that it's incorporated. And then what we're going to do is we have left our flour or our dry ingredients and our milk. And what I'm going to do is to put in 1/3 of my dry, 1/2 of my milk, and let all of that mix. And then another 1/3 of my dry, and then the rest of my milk, let that incorporate, and then the final little batch of flour. I always alternate the flour with the milk at the end of the mix, and that's just how I was taught to do it, and so that's what we're doing on this as well. Sally's recipe doesn't require you to do that, but I just like to do it that way. What can I say? Then we're going to fill our little cupcake liners. Then we're going to pop those into the oven for about 20 minutes. We're going to check them at 20 minutes and see how they are. And then we're going to let them cool, and then we will pipe our beautiful frosting. And I am using my personal frosting recipe. It's my own American buttercream. I will link up in the corner to that recipe. I'll also give you a link down below. It's so good. It works really, really well. I like extra frosting because it lets me pipe a really high swirl onto each of my cupcakes, and I just prefer that. That's my thing. I enjoy it. And for Christmas, it just seems extra fun. We're just gonna pipe in swirls, and then we're gonna top with these really cute sprinkles that I found. Aren't they the prettiest cupcakes ever? Oh my gosh. Learning to swirl the frosting, it's so worth it. The piping will take your cupcakes to a whole new level. And I know it seems like a lot, but if you practice, you can do it. The big thing is to get that consistency just right in your frosting. If you watch my frosting video, I'll show you how to do that. And then you just want to practice with the technique itself. And you want to have that 1M nozzle. That thing is unbelievable. It's so pretty, and it's really, really easy to use. And the special sprinkles. I can't say enough about those sprinkles. I love those sprinkles so much. You better believe I'm going to go buy another set of them because they're so pretty, and I want more. So yeah, they're going to be a staple in my kitchen here for sure. Well, that's today's cupcake recipe. I sure appreciate you hanging out and watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will make these cupcakes for your holiday table. Thanks again to Artsy Cupcake and Happily Thriving Heidi for sponsoring today's Winter Cupcake Challenge. And yeah, I'll just see you in the next video. Bye-bye.